Hey everybody, Bobby Medina here with my good friend Paul Barron, and today we have an extra special guest with us, somebody I have admired for many, many decades, and he's one of the most prolific trumpeters in Hollywood. He's played on way more than 12, 1,300 motion pictures, 30 years at the Academy Awards, 28 years at the Emmy Awards. He's been on 100 plus gold and platinum records with people like Frank Sinatra, Barbara Streisand, Ray Charles. The list goes on for miles. He's also played on over 5,000 cartoon shows, from Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain to Family Guy. And his movies are just too many to list. Some of his more recent projects include X-Men Days of the Future, Annie, Dawn of Planet of the Apes, and the new TV shows Gotham and Gallivant. He's been a Shilkey artist for more than 25 years, and he's also the VP of the Los Angeles American Federation of Musicians. Welcome, Rick Baptist. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it. On my screen, it says this meeting is being recorded by the host or participant. How do I get rid of that?
Oh, we're not seeing that, so I think that's probably fine.
Yeah, you can probably click on that button.
Well, let me see. What button?
Isn't there
there
like
it? Got it.
And then it disappears, right?
Yes. All right. Now we're okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool. Well,
okay.
yeah, you know all about that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for being here.
I'm thrilled to be here with both you and everybody else, and this is way cool. I mean, I absolutely love talking about my career because I know I was blessed, and this is way cool. And so when you brought this up, Bobby, I said absolutely, it'd be my honor. So I'm ready. Let's go, man.
All right. Well, let's do it. Well, let's start right from the beginning, if you don't mind, Rick. We'd love to hear about your musical upbringing in the Bay Area, right?
Absolutely. I was born in Alameda, California, which is just outside of Oakland, and worked my whole. And I tell this story because it's true. I was born with asthma. I've had really bad asthma. When I was 10 years old, I was running around the track in school, and my left lung collapsed. They rushed me to the hospital. They were able to save part of the lung, whatever. And the doctor, I'll never forget, God bless him, Dr. Feldman, suggested I take up a wind instrument to build up my lungs, right? And so back then in fifth grade, you could go, they have pick a band instrument, right? And so on the Sunday before that, I was watching Ed Sullivan show with the family, and Harry James was on the Ed Sullivan. And I thought, wow, trumpet, that might be fun, right? So I immediately ran to the trumpet, and the guy said, well, okay, that's what you want to do. My folks paid through the San Lorenzo Music Center for 3 trumpet lessons that came with the Busher trumpet that they rented for me, all right? And and the gentleman, his name was Juanito Silva. He started teaching me how to play, and I'm blessed to say that it came very quick. It came fast. After a year, he said, "I'm sending you to Oakland to a great teacher there, Leo Demers." And after 1 year, I started taking with Leo Demers. And yeah, I took everything. I mean, I love playing so much. I hated practicing. So my mom made me practice. And to this day, I have to say, I hate practicing. I don't hate it because it's just, I enjoy playing with other musicians, And so if I have a couple days off, there's a great female trumpet player here, Glenda Smith. And I said, Glenda, you got to beat me up. And I go over her house, and we play 2 hours nonstops of duets. And man, that to me is the best. It really is. And thank God I worked all the time, so I don't have to practice that much. But practicing, my mom made me practice 2 hours a day. And I just kept, and I took, like I said, I took everything. I was at 14 years old, I was subbing in the Oakland and San Francisco Symphony. I really thought that my teacher was teaching me to be a legit trumpet player, taught me how to do all the transpositions. We started in the Argans, started on A trumpet, transposing, then C trumpet, D trumpet, E, all F trumpet, everything, all practicing that. And then when I got in high school, in my sophomore year, I was in the band, of course. We started a dance band, a stage band. And at that point, that's when things really changed. I'm playing my Bach 1.5C mouthpiece and my Schilke my Benge 5X. And I'm trying to play these high notes, and it was too crazy, but I loved that music. I listened to Woody Herman and Buddy Rich and Maynard, of course, and it just changed my whole career life thinking what I wanted to do. But growing up, I always watched the TV shows, of course, watched the Oscars. I said, boy, one day I'd really like to do that, Well, I ended up doing a few of them. So, but I love playing live. There's something about playing live that it's the instantaneous reaction from the people and from your fellow musicians. And so anyway, yeah, it came relatively fast. And so I worked a lot. I was in the original Raiders band, I was in the 49ers band. I played Chinese funerals, Portuguese Holy Ghost parades. I played anything that I could play my horn, and that's what I did. And I played all through high school. I really didn't. I went to Chabot Junior College. I had a scholarship to San Francisco State and to Cal State, but I knew that was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to just play, and that's what I did. I ended up working in San Francisco, working a bunch of jobs, and I was at a club in San Francisco called Mr. D's, and Bobby Darin came in. He was a headliner for a week, and I played. I was first trumpet in the band. And he says, boy, kid, I really like your playing. He says, I've got 2 weeks in Harrah's, Reno, and I want you to come as my first trumpet player. And I thought, wow, that would be pretty cool, I said, the only problem is I'm only 20 years old. He said, don't worry about it. Lie about your age, So I lied and said I was 21. And I went up to Harrah's, Reno in, I think it was October of '68. And they offered me the job. And up there at that time, the first trumpet player was the great George Graham, who I ended up working tons with, not only in Vegas, but here in LA. But George was having some chops troubles. And so George kind of moved down in the section and eventually left there and went to Harrah's, Tahoe. But I ended up being the first trumpet player. And the first act I played was in March of '69. And that was Sammy Davis Jr. And the opening act was Carmen McRae. And I thought, this is amazing. But the cool thing was that in December of '69, Bill Cosby came in, and his opening act, ready for this, for 2 weeks, 2 shows a night, was Dizzy Gillespie.
Oh, wow.
So I had a chance to hang and talk to Dizzy, and that was an amazing thrill. Then a month later, Roy Roger and Dale Evans come in, and their conductor, mind you, was Rafael Mendez.
Wow.
He would play a couple solos and then conduct the act. And it was, so, here I am, 21 years old, getting a chance to work all these amazing acts, playing with a great band. But for me, hanging with Dizzy and then Ralph, it was, I knew this was what I wanted to do, but I also knew that LA is where I wanted to go. So I was in Reno for 2 years, and then I had an opportunity to go to Las Vegas. In fact, the band leader, George Hernandez, who had the band at Harrah's Reno, he got a gig in Vegas and had me come down. It was a show at the Thunderbird called Latin Fire. And so came down to Vegas, and anyway, so I talked a lot now. That's my whole career. It's nice talking to everybody. Anyway, so I'm just, obviously there's other things in there, but the main thing is that it just, I always, my whole life, I joined Musicians Union when I was 12 years old. The band I was playing with was called the Pan Americans, and they were all older than me, but they all belonged to the union. So I said, you have to join the union. So I got special permission to join the union at 12 years old. And coming this coming January will be 60 years that I've been in the Musicians Union. So
Wow, that's a feat in itself.
yeah, really. I mean, from Reno to Vegas to here, and that was,
Well, back in those days, I mean, just who were something, because Vegas, Reno, Tahoe, it was loaded with like great players.
oh my God.
Give us
Yeah.
some of the names of some of the people that you were in the sections with you.
Well, I mean, like when I got to Vegas and did the show Latin Fire, I had a couple of great players. But when I started really working a lot of great players was on the relief band. Now in Las Vegas at that time, they had 11 hotels that had full orchestras, 2 shows a night, 8 midnight, 6 days a week. So they had to have the house band can only work 6 days. So and the acts had to work 7. So on the 7th day, they had a relief band, they had 2 relief bands. Mine was Johnny Haig, and the other one was oh my God, I forget. But the trumpet player in the other was the great Charlie Turner, who worked with Sinatra.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, when you listen to New York, New York, that's Charlie Turner on trumpet there, right? But my section, I had great players. Oh my God. Starting with Tony Scodwell, who ended up making a lot of trumpets, and he worked with Harry James Band. I had Bobby Hamilton, who was from New York. And Bobby worked with all these, I mean, just great players. Dave Culp, who traveled with Paul Anka. And in town, we had the great players like Charlie Davis and Tommy Morello. Tommy Perello, brilliant. I mean, there's so many amazing trumpet players at that time in the 70s. We're talking in the 70s. And there were just amazing musicians. The second trombone player on the band that I was in was Carl Fontana. The third alto player at the Hilton Hotel was the great, oh my gosh, I just blanked.
Well, I know Jackie McLean was around for a while.
Who?
Jackie McLean, could that have been?
No, it wasn't Jackie McLean.
Okay. Now, how about Lou Valazan? Did you play with Lou?
I did. I played rehearsal bands with Lou. I never actually worked a gig in Vegas with Lou, but he was such a sweet guy. And Carl Saunders, he was working at the Hilton Hotel. I mean, every hotel had great players. It was just, and what we would do, we'd have 8 o'clock show and midnight show. After the midnight show, usually get down around 1 o'clock. Then everybody would go to the union where they had a bar and they had bands that played, rehearsal bands that played. So you had a chance to hear all these great players. It was amazing.
Well, the times have changed, that's for sure. But boy, that just sounds like a tremendous era to have been in. So when did you move to LA? You moved to Los Angeles after you were in Vegas, right?
Right. Well, I left Vegas in October of '79. And I moved to Los Angeles here. And it was great because in my days in Vegas, Nelson Riddle came into town with Linda Ronstadt, right? So I'd worked with Nelson. Peter Matz came into town with different acts. So I was a known commodity when I ended up deciding to come to LA. So when I came to LA, I just made phone calls. I called Nelson, I called Peter Matz. He immediately put me on the last season of Carol Burnett's show, sitting next to the amazing Warren Looney, who I ended up working thousands of movies with and was a dear friend. And it was, so I just started kind of working pretty quick in LA. Actually the 5th motion picture I did was E.T., which was kind of neat. And again, I know Warren spoke to the contractor, Sandy DeCrescent, and got me on the gig. And from then on, I did 30 movies with John Williams, so. But it's again, I really believe, and this is the thing I cannot impress more to the players out there, is that, you're gonna always work with amazing players. But when you walk in the door to that studio or to the gig, you check your ego at the door. You're not always going to be the first trumpet player. You're not only, but you're on the gig. You be the best second, third, and fourth trumpet player you can be. You be one of the guys. That's the thing that I feel has hurt a lot of my fellow trumpet players is our ego. Well, I should be playing first. Well, why is he playing it that way? Wrong. Because those other players are the ones who can recommend you for jobs. And once you get on another job, you're being heard by a whole set of different people. And that's so important. It's a team. I work with the same four or five trumpet players in the studios on 1,300 movies. We have the great Malcolm McNabb, Warren Looney, John Lewis, Tony Turan, all these guys, they could do anything, And so if Malcolm got called to play first trumpet, I support, play the best I can on second. But the thing that we all did, and I think which really helped all of us, was Malcolm, who is hands down the greatest motion picture trumpet player there. I mean, the best. He and then I'm sitting there with Warren Looney, who I truly believe is the most versatile trumpet player that ever was. He was principal trumpet of the LA Phil, great jazz player, do Dixieland, do anything. But so if Malcolm's playing first and there was a big band chart, boom, it was on my part. It was on my stand. And he could do it, but why? I could do that, same thing if I'm playing first and there's a real pretty delicate trumpet solo, I'm going to give it to Malcolm, because the important thing is the music, not your ego, not getting found out, so that you have to be one of the guys. When we take a break for lunch, everybody eats together. All the trumpet section eats together. There's two reasons for that. One, we're all together. And two, if you don't eat with them, they're talking about you. So, as we all know as trumpet players, So, but anyway, it's you have to be a good team player. Everybody's going to get your shot. You're going to get your shot.
I couldn't agree more. I saw you on some interview or something that somebody did. I think you were giving a master class actually somewhere online, and was at some college or university. And you may not even remember it, but you were talking about something, and this is the same scenario has happened to me many times throughout my career, and it's partially how I've made a lot of my connections. But you were talking about, you were with a group of, I don't know if it was producers, executives, something or rather, and there was like a casual band playing.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know exactly the story you're talking about.
Well, tell it, because this is great.
Playing at the Beverly Hilton Hotel with the casual band. Again, I took everything. I love playing my horn. So then it was an older band, and so I stood up and played a couple of solos, and this and that. And after the job was over, an older gentleman came up to me, and he says, "Do you have a card?" And I cannot express how important this is to everybody out there, because you never know who's in the audience that could hear you play, right? And so luckily I had a card. I gave him my card. He said, "I'm going to give it to my contractor, and you'll be hearing from him." I said, "Oh, excuse me, sir, what's your name?" "Oh, my name's David Rose." David Rose. The next thing I know, the following week, I get called to do Highway to Heaven TV show, which I end up doing and playing the solo and doing the whole thing, all because I was just playing my trumpet in a band that I never worked with, having fun, and you never know who's going to hear you play. So that turned out to be a lot of years of working with David Rose, and then he passed. But that's just, so please get a business card. The cheapest, you get it at Kinko's, 500 of them. all, you don't want to write your name on an envelope or on a napkin. They're going to freak. But with the business cards, your name, your instrument, how I can get a hold of you, that's all you need. That's the most, when any new musicians come into the office, that's what I tell them. Get the cheapest advertise you have, and that is a business card.
So let's move forward a little bit. Can you tell us, I know you've played so many movies and cartoons and everything that sometimes they can probably become a blur, but do you have any like favorite sessions that have ever happened that just really, really stand out?
Well, I get this, Walter Murphy, who, if you remember, the 70s wrote the tune, The Fifth of Beethoven.
Yeah, I do.
Right? I get a call from Walter, and he said, "Hey, Rick," I said, "we got this new cartoon show. I want you to come over to the house. We're going to record the main titles." I says, "Cool." So I get over there, and I see Alan Kaplan he's sitting there with trombone player, Dan Higgins on sax, and there's this young cat sitting on the thing and introduced himself, and I didn't hear it, so I was the first one in there. And Walter put the music up, and I played all. So the score, the bottom line is the main title for Family Guy, and I played all 4 trumpet parts on that. Alan Kaplan played all four trombone parts, and Dan Higgins did all 5 saxes. And the kid there was Seth MacFarlane, right?
Oh,
and it was that was so cool. He was so knocked out with the musicians. Now, when Seth signed his first contract at Fox with Family Guy, a huge hit, of course, and still is. When he started to find his first contract, it was a 4-year deal, $100 million or whatever. But in his contract, this is how much he loves the music and musicians. He has, in his contract, says that every year they add 1 musician to the sides of the orchestra on his cartoon shows, such as Cleveland, Family Guy, Orville now, and right now there is every week they record the music for Family Guys. There's 37 musicians. Pretty hip.
wow. And all because he had the forethought and the clout, I guess, to pull that off in his contract.
Yeah, and then and that's you don't hear that kind of story, and man, he is an amazing, what a talent. I mean, the kid's amazing. It's just stories like that I love. My other favorite stories, I did the first 14 Pixar movies. I played all of them. I'm only one, and myself, Don Williams on percussion, that did the first 4, all the Toy Stories, Cars, and Incredibles. As far as Incredibles go, I have a Facebook page, right? I have gotten more requests for Facebook as to accept as friend from trumpet players around the world. In fact, recently there was a young kid, a couple of months ago, a young kid from Bophuthatswana, Africa, who plays trumpet. He says, "Oh, Mr. Baptist, could you be my, The Incredibles is my favorite movie," and blah, blah, blah. Because on the CD, you could go to music and it shows us playing. And as you can see, I love talking. So the camera, came right to me. It said, "Rick Baptist, first trumpet." And so I had Wayne Berger on there. I had amazing trumpet section, Paul Salvo. It was just an amazing band. So we were doing the movie Up. Okay. And I tell this story to show you how important music is, if we already didn't know, but how important music is to movies. And so we're doing the movie Up. And in that movie, I gave all these tons of these solo tone trumpet solos through the whole thing, right? Michael Giacchino actually wrote it as for straight mutes. And I had this old 1938 solo tone that Manny Klein gave me. And I loved this warmth of it, right? And so when we recorded that with the straight mute, I felt a little too tinny. So I raised my hand. Michael's in the booth. He was like, "Michael, do you mind? Can we play one more? I just want to use a different thing." And he's really great about allowing us to do that. So I put the solo tone mute in, and I played one more. Okay, did it. The red light went out. And then him and the director, Pete Docter, came out of the booth. They wind their way through the whole thing, and they each came right next to me, and they both kissed me on the cheek, saying, "That's the sound that we wanted," So that's my Manny Klein solo tone. But as far as on Up, Pete Docter, the director, came, and we have 75 musicians, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen," he says, "I want you to, because when you work on a motion picture, they show it on the screen, big screen behind you, just the scene you're playing to. We never hear the dialogue." And he says, he said, "Before you play this cue," he says, "I want you to put your headphones on, turn around. We're going to put the dialogue in your headphones, and you can see and hear, the dialogue and see what you're doing." So we look, and it was the scene near the beginning of the movie. It's a 3.5-minute scene where the old man is reminiscing about his wife, right? And at the end of that scene, if you don't have a little tear in your eye. So anyway, so we recorded it. And it would look, oh, that was nice. After lunch, he says, "Now, I want you to see what your music did to my movie." And we all put our headphones on again and turned around, and he played it back with the playback. And 75 grown men and women were crying. That's how important music is. And that's why we do it.
Absolutely. I've often just turned off the sound, and just to show my kids and to show my wife and other people. Without music, it's flat, it falls flat. So
I had a psychology class in university where they would play, say, a clip, the video from a horror movie with music from a comedy or something like that. And it totally had a different vibe to it, and vice versa. You got a funny scene and all of a sudden you've got this Jaws dun 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 dun, that kind of stuff, and it's totally different. Well, have you got some funny behind the scenes stories, like, I don't know.
I mean, the story I always really I love telling is it's on the Oscars, right? Now, when you do the Oscars go live to the world. All right. So the first thing, we rehearse and rehearse for a week and rehearse all the music. And you're sitting in the pit, right? And before the show goes live to the world, the director, you could hear him in our headphones say, "Okay, folks, have fun, do a great job, and don't forget you're going live to 1 billion people," right? And
Wow.
so that'll kind of get the juices going, And so we were. There was the year that Mambo Kings was nominated, and the great Arturo Sandoval played the soundtrack, and there was the song "Beautiful Maria," and so they hired Placido Domingo to come and sing the song. It was a nominated song, right? And so Bill Conti says, "Rick," he says, "we can't get Arturo, so I want you to play his part behind the song." I said, "Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love it, So we sit in rehearsal. I'm rehearsing with him, playing the music, standing next to him. And show day, it came in around the second hour of the show. And they came down and got me out of the pit, and they put little ruffle sleeves on my jacket, and I go up and I'm standing next to Placido Domingo. We're getting ready to play the song. Now, we've rehearsed it all week long with dancers and everything. And so he looks at me and says, "Rick, is it true we're going live to 1 billion people?" And I said, "Oh, yes, sir, we are." Right? And he says, "Wow, I'm really getting nervous." And as soon as he said that, I start to get the shake, start to get the dry mouth. I figured, if he's nervous, why am I not nervous? But so that's when, thank God, I had just learned the trick. I'd spoken to another opera singer, and I didn't have water there at the time. And so this is a trick. I want to put this out there to everybody, because we've all gone through that dry mouth, and that's the worst, right? And so what you do is take your back teeth and bite down on the back of your tongue, or scrape your back teeth on your tongue, and it gets all the juices going. Pretty cool, right? That got me past it. Once I played, and they said, "Oh, cameras on, let's go." Once I started playing, I was fine. But that mental thing, but that's just a trick that you guys need to do. If you feel yourself getting nervous, you don't have any water there, you don't have something, just bite on the back of your tongue. You could do it. and still nobody can know you're doing it, but you feel all the juices and starts going.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Tip of the day.
You were
Yeah, no,
probably
that is the tip of the day.
you were probably
Like,
doing it just as Rick was describing that, weren't you, Bobby? I know I
no,
was.
actually, I got my water here,
And it
but
worked.
no, but it does
it'll
work.
get
It
you
does
past
work.
that.
Absolutely. Well, you were originally, I think maybe originally, weren't you the original trumpet on the Dancing with the Stars show?
Oh yes, I love that. That to me was the best. We had done the contractor and band leader was Harold Wheeler, and the contractor is Bill Hughes. We had done the first 3 shows for American Idol, right? And then they wanted a different band. They got Ricky Minor in there, and so we figured, oh well, we did 3 shows American Idol. It was fun. Then they called us to do the summer replacement show called Dancing with the Stars. 6 of them. So okay, cool. And us all being whores, we're gonna take the gig, baby. So we ended up and going, and ABC bought the show. It was a show that was in England called Strictly Come Dancing, and it was a ballroom dancing show. And so we went in. It was an amazing band. I had myself and Warren Looney, and Oscar Bashir was actually the third trumpet player when we started. And then Oscar later left, and we got Chris Gray, who's a great young player. Anyway, it was an amazing band. It was Ralph Humphreys on drums, and Tom Rainier and Dan Higgins. I mean, it was just a great.
It was a who's who of LA. I used to watch it just to see
great,
you
and we loved it because it was totally live. It was, They always gave us credit. A lot of screenshots. In fact, at the beginning of the show, they would walk down the stairs with the thing, and the last shot was always a shot of me going bop 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 bop, right? And so I thought that was kind of cool. 20 million people every way got a chance to see if I had clean nails, but yeah, it was like I said, it was 2 hours live. They treated it great, and the eye candy wasn't bad. But yeah, it was great. We did that for 12 seasons, and then Disney, we were losing in ratings to The Voice. Disney said we have to make it younger, and so they went to records. And then, as I say, a wedding band. But it was cool because my friend Harry Kim was the trumpet player on it, But that was a great job, man. And truthfully, I think that if we would have still had that, I probably would not have become vice president of the musician units, because as a vice president, I'm not allowed to play my trumpet anymore. So that was a big decision for me to have to make. I sat with my wife, and again, I felt that I'd done everything I really wanted to do. But I love talking to the young and inspiring the young kids. I speak to 13 different colleges every year. What I do is I tell them I lie about my career, and then I talk about the union, But it's just so much fun. I love talking to and inspiring the young musicians, because, man, there's some great people out there.
Well, you inspire a lot of us old geezers too, so which is cool. And I just have to throw this out because we have members from all over the world that see our videos and stuff. And I know I go and I've had the great opportunity to go and appear as a guest artist a number of times over in Portugal. And I know you have a Portuguese background, so we have a lot of Portuguese people that are going to watch this. So, there's a little shout out to everybody from Portugal.
Yes, definitely. Oh, that is so cool. I love that. Thank you.
Well, I have one last question for you, I guess. And this is coming from experience playing like Broadway shows on the road, and a lot of the local trumpet players, they're always so concerned about the make and model of your mouthpiece, and not you specifically, right. But they want to make sure that everybody's playing a Bach trumpet and everybody's playing a 1.5 C, and like it matters, because everybody picking up that exact horn is going to sound the exact same. But I know it's different, in the studios in LA. Can you talk about like the different keyed instruments? Because I understand, you know, you didn't always have the same keyed trumpet in your hands next to the,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like for example, Malcolm McNabb, he plays everything and transposes in his head everything on a Schilke E3L, E flat, you know, E3L trumpet. For John Lewis plays mainly pretty much everything on a C trumpet. You know, myself and Warren, we played a B flat. Warren always played. He had a LeBlanc and actually a Bach 37. Warren could play a piece of lead pipe and sound great. Played a straight Bach 7C mouthpiece with his Bach. For me, my Schilke. The reason I loved the B5 was because I felt it was the most versatile of the horns that I had played. You could play big band, you could play legit, you could play everything. And my mouthpiece, and God bless Bob Reeves, I was in Vegas, I was playing a 3C. I felt that rim felt comfortable. So I went to Bob Reeves, you know, flew and came to LA, went to Bob Reeves. I said, listen, this rim, this is what I've been playing on for the last 6-7 years. I'd like it just a little bit thicker, but you know, I think it was a 42 backbore and 6.9 backbore and a 42 cup, and that's what I played on the rest of my career. I never changed mouthpieces. I never was one that if I was going to play high notes, no, I always played the same mouthpiece, which is the Bach 3 rim that Reeves made me. And ended up Wayne Bergen and I, we would use Warburton number 5 backboards, you know, so because you could do the screw. But yeah, as far as equipment, like I said, Malcolm would play everything on an E flat. John would do that. If you look at on the internet, it has Superman Returns, and it shows me. I've got a lot of comments from guys saying, "Oh, I saw Rick was playing the piccolo trumpet." Well, I have a Schilke E3L. Right? No, excuse me. A Schilke, oh my gosh.
P54?
P54, right? But it was a 3 valve. And the reason I like the P54, I mean, I love the P54, I used it. Then I was P7. It's the P7 because that had a bigger bore and it blended great with Malcolm. And you could play, you know, in the studios, they turn the red light on. They don't want to hear clams. And for us, for me, I use that P7 3 valve. I have a 4 valve also, but the 3 valve, it just felt comfortable to me. And I can't tell you how amazing it records. And it was just so much easier. So you can play all day long and never make a mistake, you know. When people look and say, "Oh, why are you playing?" You know, I mean, people go, "Oh, yeah, he had to go to the piccolo." Yeah, I had to because it made my life a whole lot easier. Doesn't matter what you play. It's what you get the best sound that you hear on your horn. So, you know, again, everybody plays something different. And it's, I'm just a Schilke guy. I am. I love the Schilke Flugel. I got the C. I mean, yeah, everything. It's, you just use the horn. And for us, we always had 5 horns with us when we would go into a studio. They never tell you ahead of time. We don't know what we're going to play. We have no idea. So, you know, if John's there, we're all going to play. Okay, we all play C trumpet. So if I'm there, I'm going to play that. Because when you play a second instrument, that's called a double, and it's 50% more money. And so we always have a B flat, a C, a flugel, a cornet in the trunk, and I would have my pick. And that's it. So I always had 5 horns. All the guys would bring that many horns because they don't care what you play on in the booth. They don't hire you for that. They hire you to play the music the best you can, and that's what we did. And that's what I miss. I do miss that. But you know, I haven't touched my horn in 6 years, and that's tough for me to say. But there's been times every year in the Oscars these last 3 years that I haven't been doing it. I get the pangs of possibly going back and playing, but you know what? It would probably just piss me off, and then I wouldn't be good on these kind of things, you know.
It's a lot of work to maintain it. That's the thing, either you got to be, doing a lot of work or practicing a lot or a combination of
And
both,
at that level, you have to. And anybody, God bless anybody who's put it down for whatever reason and then came back and played it again, because then it's just the love of playing. It really
Well,
is.
we have a lot of people in our groups that are comeback players and people that have actually been successful and they've taken time off to pursue another career and family interests, and then they come back just because they love it and they just want to do it. And that's one of the things that this COVID period has brought out. There's been a lot of people
Absolutely.
that early on had a lot of time to do that, to have a new hobby and this and that and time to practice. I mean, I finally got to pull out the Arbin book again and got reacquainted with a lot of a lot of the old things I should have been practicing more anyways. But well, man, thank you so much for spending time. You are just like an inspiring player all the time. I mean, I have not really said much, but I remember a long time ago. I mean, this was a long time ago. I was probably, I was probably 19 years old, maybe 20 myself, and it was the first time I had ever met you. And I know you're not even going to remember this, but we did a thing. I got invited to sub on a rehearsal band at the Union, and I think it might have been Dick Shearer's band, and you were playing in it. Bobby Rodriguez played in it. We interviewed him a while back. The great Ramon Flores was playing in there. I think Tony Lujan was playing there, and then I just kind of bumbled around on the fifth chair, but it was just so nice to sit and meet all you guys and just be, have something to aspire to, man. So, and then I did the Olympics in 1984 as one of the fanfare trumpeters. And
cool.
I think I briefly met you and a couple of the guys that were playing in the orchestra.
Yeah, it was George Graham, myself. It was John Audino, who was the great trumpet player on the Tonight Show.
Oh yeah,
and Graham Young. It was the four of us we played the opening ceremonies. But that's cool that you did that. In fact, just right outside my office, I have one of those herald trumpets with the flag. And
the five rings in it. Yeah, I have mine.
Look right over there. I have the torch from the '84.
Wow, that's awesome.
But that's so cool. I mean, that's so neat, and things like that is that's amazing. I love that we did that.
Yeah.
And I was doing for 37 years. I did the Jerry Lewis Telethon in Las Vegas, and I met this young kid. Came up to me and we sat and talked. Now, in that show you play 20 hours. I mean, and so he came in with the McDonald's all college band, and it was Chris Bodie, and the other trumpet player was the great Japanese trumpet player.
Eric Miyashiro.
Eric Miyashiro. So I got a chance. They were with the band. I got a chance and sit and talk to those guys, and that was so cool. And then find out, oh my God, look where they went. And Chris Bodie. I mean, that is so cool.
Yeah.
And Chris at that time was talking about his old Martin trumpet, which he literally sleeps with, by the way.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us and hang out here.
This is so cool. And again, if you ever want to do chapter 2, let's keep going. I could keep going for a long time.
We will do that. Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Rick. We really appreciate you being here and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Paul. That was, again, I was looking forward to this. And thank you so very, very much. God bless you all. Everybody out there, just keep doing it, man. Music, there's nothing like it. This is the greatest opportunity you'll ever have. And it's the best. That's all I can say.
Thanks again, Rick.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Paul.